I was the playmate of Sophia, the heiress of the richest family. I stayed by her side for 12 years, from our school days to her bed, until one night, Sophia asked for me 10 times. She kept moaning my name with passion. But I didn't feel a thing, because her true love had come back, and I had always just been his substitute in her eyes. So, I left quietly. With dignity, just like she wanted. But when she saw the girl next door confessing to me, she lost control and threw her high heel at me, telling me to leave it at the door. She even declared that she was the mistress of my house. Chapter 1. The year my father's company was on the verge of bankruptcy, I was sent to the richest family to be the companion of their heiress. Sophia, the heiress, was 3 years younger than me, born with a silver spoon in her mouth, and so pretty it didn't even feel real. At first, I was just her playmate. We played video games, skipped class, watched midnight movies in private theaters. Later, I became her secretary and bed partner, in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows of the office, in the lavatory of a private jet, on the deck of a yacht. We lived in chaos, day and night, until that day, I saw the flight information in her phone. Her true love was returning from abroad. That night, she clung to me like she wanted to melt into a pool of spring water under me, asking for it 10 times. At that moment, I knew it was time for me to step aside. Gio. Makoto came back to the country today, Sophia said as she wrapped her arms around me from behind, her chin resting on my shoulder, her breath still heavy with the heat of passion. I still can't forget him. I had my back to her as I buttoned up my shirt. My fingers were steady, not a single tremor. I understand. I'll take my things and delete my fingerprint data later. She chuckled softly, her lips brushing against my ear just like every time after we had sex. That's what I love most about you, Gio. You're always so sensible and discreet. Don't worry. I'll keep supporting your family's company. This time, I'll invest 1 billion. How about that? I curled my lips. Thanks. Why are you thanking me? She kissed my earlobe, her voice sticky sweet like she was acting cute. You grew up with me, Gio. I can't live without you, no matter who else is around. We're just ending the playmate part. You'll still be my secretary, and I'll always protect your family. No need, I said calmly as I fastened the last button of my shirt and turned to look at her. I've decided to low. Before I could finish, her phone rang. Sophia, your Prince Charming is back. He's throwing a welcome party at a bar in the East District. You coming? It was her best friend, sounding super excited. Sophia's eyes lit up instantly. She jumped up, threw on a coat, pecked my lips, and said, Gio, I'll leave this to you. I trust you the most with things like this. I hummed in response. As the door clicked shut, I stood there, staring at the messy bed, the sheets still bearing the traces of our intimacy. I methodically stripped the bed and tossed the sheets into the washer. Then I picked up the scattered clothes one by one and hung them up. Only after that did I start packing my own things. Clothes, toiletries, a few books I read often. I'd lived here for 3 years, yet everything I took with me fit into a single carry-on suitcase. While I was deleting the fingerprint lock data, my dad called. George. His voice trembled with excitement. What did you do to coax Sophia this time? She actually gave us $1 billion in funding. This is the last time, I said calmly, standing outside the villa. She won't give you another cent after this. The other end went silent for a second. Then my father's voice came back, low with restrained anger. What do you mean? Then he seemed to realize something and quickly added. Oh, you heard that Sophia's Prince Charming is back. Don't worry. You've been by her side for so many years. She won't be able to leave you. So what if he's back? You keep being her secretary and enjoy the perks. I forgot to tell you. I interrupted him. I've decided to leave. Don't you dare. He roared. Don't forget your mother. I laughed coldly. Did you forget? My mom died a week ago. You used my mom to threaten me for 12 years. Now, you can't threaten me anymore. I have to leave Sophia. I'm done with this life. You'd better not come looking for me again. Otherwise, I'll make sure you pay back every cent I gave you over the years. With that, I hung up, blocked all of my father's contacts, flagged down a taxi, and returned to my own apartment. The neon lights outside the car window blurred into a haze. Exhausted, I closed my eyes, and in a daze, I was back to the year I turned 15. That was the year my family's company was on the brink of collapse. My father, desperate, used my mother's medical funds to force me into approaching Sophia, the golden girl of City A, the only heir to the wealthiest family. So, I staged a hero saves the damsel act and became her playmate. During countless days growing up together, she would duck under my umbrella on rainy days, calling out my name, Gio. Soaked and pouty, she would lie across my lap pretending to be pitiful after failing an exam. And when my dad's company hit a financial crisis, she'd casually say, "How much are you short? I'll have my dad wire it over." Then she grew up. She had her first crush, Makoto. She was full of anxiety, asking me, "Gio, do you think, if I confess and he rejects me, Would we not even be friends anymore? It was clear to me then. She was madly in love with him. That paralyzing fear of loss kept her from ever confessing. She just watched him date girl after girl, until one day, he left the country. During that time, Sophia drowned herself in alcohol, getting drunk nearly every day, until one night, she mistook me for Makoto and dragged me into a reckless, chaotic night. When she was on top of me, her breath reeked of alcohol. The next morning, she cuddled into me and whined. "Gio, you were amazing. Last night with you made me forget all the pain." She rubbed her cheek into the crook of my neck. "Gio, will you stay with me? Help me move on from him." And so I stayed. For 3 whole years. Everyone thought I was hopelessly in love with her. No one knew. I didn't like Sophia. I wasn't into faux sibling romance. This relationship, built on manipulation and purpose, felt like selling my soul. Every single day was torture. Now, my mother was gone. In the depths of grief, I felt, strangely freed. The last thing my mother gave me was her love, and the chance to finally live without compromise. The next day, the first thing I did at work was hand in my resignation. The HR rep looked at me in shock. "George, you're quitting. Does Chairwoman Kim know?" I smiled faintly. "Isn't quitting just a normal thing?" "But Chairwoman Kim relies on you. No one's truly indispensable," I said, sliding my resignation form across the desk. "Just send it for her approval." Before the end of the day, HR called me over hesitantly. "Chairwoman Kim has approved it." He paused, then added awkwardly, "It's just, she might not have noticed it was you resigning. Should we tell her?" Chapter 2. I let out a faint chuckle. No need to tell her specifically. Just follow the regular procedure. Sophia had just gone to Makoto's welcome back party yesterday. Today, she was in such a good mood that she couldn't even be bothered to show up at the office. There's no way she would notice something so trivial. Over the next 2 days, Sophia still didn't come to work. Meanwhile, I was busy with immigration paperwork and tossing out everything in my apartment related to Sophia. One by one, the expensive jewelry, the limited edition luxury cars, even those little trinkets she casually gave me. I didn't want any of it. Then, on the evening of the 3rd day, my phone suddenly buzzed. "I know you've slept with Sophia countless times, but now I'm with her. You'd better stay away. She'll never like an emotionally dull old man like you." I frowned and was about to ask who sent the message, when a call from Sophia popped up on my screen. "Gio, come downstairs," she said, sounding more cheerful than she had in a long time. A black Maybach was parked at the curb outside the company. Sophia was leaning casually against the car door in a laid-back outfit, sunlight casting a flickering glow across her bright, stunning face. For a moment, I thought back to when we were 15. She used to wait for me outside the school gate in the exact same way. "I'm taking you somewhere." She raised a brow and opened the car door. I didn't expect the destination to be a shopping mall. Sophia dragged me through every luxury store, holding pieces up against me one after another. "Like it?" I stared at my reflection, surrounded by high-end brands, and felt a strange mix of emotions. "You don't have to buy me these, Gio." She suddenly leaned in close, her breath warm against my ear. "You and Makoto are about the same size. If you like it, he'll definitely like it too." I froze. So, this was for Makoto. "You two are together now?" Sophia's eyes sparkled like a child who just got a piece of candy. I confessed at the party that night. Turns out he liked me too. He just never knew how I felt. Didn't dare believe I could like him. That's why we kept missing each other. She rambled on, like a girl caught in her first crush. I listened quietly, and that nasty text message suddenly resurfaced in my mind. I hadn't known who sent it before, but now, everything was crystal clear. "Sophia," I gently interrupted, "what do you like about him? He's so sincere, so kind." She answered instantly, "Totally different from other guys." I recalled the words from that message, "Old man, just a fling." Kindness didn't exactly seem that way. After a pause, I said, "He might not be the person you think he is." Sophia's smile vanished. Her lips were still curved upward, but her eyes had gone cold. "Gio, I thought you were the mature one." Her slender fingers brushed a strand of hair away from my face, the gesture gentle, yet laced with warning. "Don't slander someone I cherish, just because you're jealous." She may have been young, but as the heiress of a top-tier family, her presence had always been powerful. Feeling that sudden pressure from her, I realized I'd crossed a line. "Sorry." I chose silence in the end, and didn't show her that text. On the way back, Sophia brought up Makoto again. She said he loved antiques, and told me to go to an upcoming auction to buy them all. "All right," I replied calmly. "But jewelry alone isn't enough. Add some calligraphy and paintings." Sophia gave me a surprised look. "Gio, you're not jealous anymore?" Jealous? I had never loved her, so what was there to be jealous of? I only spoke up because I didn't want her to get hurt. Just as I was about to respond, Sophia's phone rang. She answered, and Makoto's panicked voice blared through the speaker. Sophia. I've been kidnapped, please help. Her expression changed instantly. She quickly pulled out her phone to locate his signal. Once the location was confirmed, she spun the wheel hard, doing a sharp U-turn. I wasn't ready. The inertia slammed me against the car window. My forehead split open, blood pouring down, but Sophia didn't even glance at me. She floored the gas, racing toward the hotel rooftop. There, the man holding Makoto hostage was the bankrupt owner of a company the Kim family had crushed. He had a knife to Makoto's throat. Sophia, he roared. You ruined my family, now I'll make you lose the one you love. I held a hand over my bleeding forehead, watching as Sophia hesitated for only a second, then smiled. In business, you win some, you lose some, maybe grow a thicker skin. Then she yanked my arm around hers. And besides, you really suck at this. That's not my boyfriend. The man next to me is. She smiled with cold contempt, then leaned close and whispered in my ear. Gio, forget them, let's go. But despite her words, her steps as she turned to leave were slow, too slow, and in that moment, I understood her plan. Sophia was using me as bait, to buy time, to trade me for Makoto's safety. Chapter 3. The kidnapper really fell for it. He released Makoto and lunged at me before I even had time to react. His arm clamped tightly around my neck as he dragged me backward toward the edge of the rooftop. I heard Sophia shouting my name, her voice filled with a panic I had never heard before, but it was already too late. My back hit the railing, and the next second, a sudden sense of weightlessness surged through me. The wind howled past my ears, and my heart felt like it was about to burst out of my chest. From over 20 stories high, it only takes a few seconds to fall. I closed my eyes. The last thought that flashed through my mind was, the little girl from back then had finally grown up enough to sacrifice me without hesitation, for the person she loved. When I woke up again, the sharp smell of disinfectant filled my nose. You're lucky to be alive, the nurse said while changing my bandages. You landed on the safety net. The one who jumped down with you wasn't so lucky, died on the spot. I closed my eyes. Sophia couldn't possibly not know what would happen, but to save the one she loved, she still chose to sacrifice me without a second thought. She's only 22. But already carries the ruthless decisiveness of someone born into power. Suddenly, the hospital room door swung open. Sophia walked in. Gio. She sat by the bed and reached out to touch my face. I got you the best room, the best doctors. You'll be discharged soon. I turned my head to avoid her hand and looked at her in silence. She sighed and grabbed my hand, pressing it to her cheek. Are you mad at me? I didn't have a choice at the time, she said softly, rubbing her face against my hand, her eyes wet and glimmering. Just like when she used to act cute as a kid. Gio loves me so much. Just forgive me this once. Okay. I pulled my hand back. What made you think I love you that much? She paused, then chuckled. If you didn't love me, why would you stay by my side all these years? For money, I answered in my head, but didn't say it out loud. You should go take care of Makoto, I said, closing my eyes. He must have been scared out of his mind. Sophia didn't hold back. He was. And I said some things to save him. He's still upset. I need to calm him down. She stood up and smoothed her skirt. Gio, I'll come see you again when I have time. She never came back after that. Sometimes, when I passed by the room next door, I'd catch glimpses of what was going on through the half-open door. Sophia feeding Makoto spoonfuls of porridge. When he frowned and said it was hot, she blew on it gently before giving it to him. When he said he had nightmares, she cradled him in her arms and comforted him softly. Most of the time, they were kissing like no one else existed. Sophia's hands rested on Makoto's shoulders, her kisses deep and full of emotion. Watching this, I didn't feel a thing. On the day I was discharged, I ran into Sophia and Makoto at the hospital entrance. George, Makoto jogged over and threw an arm around my shoulder. I owe you big time. If not for you, I would have been the one who got hurt. Let Sophia drive you home. He smiled brightly, as if that provocative text message had never existed. On the way, Makoto and Sophia chatted animatedly. I sat in the back seat, so quiet I may as well have not been there. Then Makoto suddenly turned to me. George, all the years I was abroad, did Sophia date anyone else back here? The car fell silent in an instant. Sophia's fingers tapped the steering wheel unconsciously, betraying a hint of tension. I smiled. Yeah. Makoto's face darkened. Who? You. He froze. Sophia's only ever loved one person, I said calmly. She's never forgotten you, not even for a day. On your birthday, she buys a cake and sits alone in your favorite restaurant until it closes. There's a warehouse on the west side of the city filled with gifts she bought whenever she missed you. She flies to Europe every week, just to secretly see you near your campus. Makoto's eyes grew misty as he listened. But Sophia's gaze met mine in the rearview mirror, complicated and unreadable. For once, she dropped Makoto off first, then drove me alone. She pulled up in front of my apartment building and grabbed my wrist. Gio, what did you mean by what you said earlier? Didn't I play the wingman well? I smiled faintly. Seeing how touched Mr. Ito was, I figure those words will only make your relationship stronger. Sophia narrowed her eyes. I'm asking why you said it at all. She leaned in, her breath warm against my face. No matter how mature you act, I'm still the one you like. How could you say all that so calmly, about how much I love someone else? I tugged at the corner of my lips and sighed silently in my heart, because I don't love you, Sophia. Chapter 4. I didn't answer Sophia's question. I simply replied calmly, you don't like me being this way. She didn't hesitate. No, I don't. Then I won't talk like that again. With that, I opened the car door and got out, walking into the apartment building without looking back. As I stepped out of the elevator, the young woman from the neighboring unit happened to come out. Her eyes lit up when she saw me. She walked over politely and said, I've seen you a few times before, but never had the chance to say hi. You're exactly my type. Can I add you on WeChat? Just as I was about to respond, a hand suddenly shot out from behind, grabbing mine and pulling me back. Shouldn't you ask me first before trying to add my boyfriend on WeChat? Sophia's voice was cold as ice. The woman's expression changed instantly. She quickly apologized. Sorry, I've seen him coming and going alone these past few days. I didn't know he had a girlfriend. With that, she hurried off. I shook off Sophia's hand. What are you doing here? Sophia's expression was dark as she shoved a phone into my hand. You left this in the car. I took it and thanked her, but she didn't leave right away. Staring in the direction the woman had gone, she said sharply, Gio, from now on, if someone asks for your WeChat, you're not allowed to give it. Why not? Just don't. She kicked off her high heels and threw them at me. Leave these by the door. People should know a woman lives here. When I didn't move, she walked over, picked them up herself, and placed them right on the doormat. Get some rest. She turned and left with a cold expression. I watched her walk away until the elevator doors closed. Then, without emotion, tossed the pair of expensive custom heels straight into the trash. 3 days later was the company's anniversary gala. I was outside the venue double-checking the event rundown when I suddenly got a message from Sophia. Come to the dressing room now. When I opened the door, Makoto was sitting on the sofa, red-eyed and clutching a shredded suit. George, how could you give me a suit like this? His voice trembled. Are you trying to make me a joke at the gala? I frowned and picked up the suit to inspect it. It was clearly the tailored piece he had delivered himself. It had been perfectly intact. Now, it had been deliberately slashed to pieces. I'm sorry. I'll have someone deliver a new one immediately. I offered a solution right away. There's no time. Makoto shook his head. The gala's about to start, and all the guests are already here. How about the backup suit? The backup's not formal enough. This is my first time making a public appearance as Sophia's boyfriend. I suggested several emergency options, all of which he rejected one after another. After a few attempts, I finally realized he was doing this on purpose. Sophia seemed to notice something was off too. Her brows drew slightly together. Makoto, what do you want to do? Makoto pointed at me. George's suit is about my size. Why don't we just swap? No, I refused flatly. I'm the chief secretary. I need to oversee the entire event tonight. Wearing a shredded suit out there, that wouldn't just make me look bad, it would disgrace the entire Kim Corporation. I pulled out my phone. I'll call now. We can still get another one delivered. What if they don't make it in time? I'm not willing to take that risk. Makoto suddenly burst out emotionally, gripping Sophia's arm. Sophia, there are so many important people here tonight. I want to show up looking my best, with you, so your parents can get a good impression. Sophia's eyes softened immediately. Gio. She turned to me. Swap suits with him. I took a deep breath. I'm the secretary. I have a lot to manage tonight. Gio, I'm your boss. Do what I say. She cut me off, her tone leaving no room for refusal. I closed my eyes for a moment. In the end, I walked into the changing room and handed my suit to Makoto, and I put on the shredded one. The shoulder was completely sliced through. The sleeves were hanging by a few loose threads. One small movement and they'd fall apart entirely. Makoto changed into my suit, twirled once in front of the mirror, and asked Sophia with a smile, Sophia, who looks better in this, me or George? You. Sophia replied without hesitation. Makoto shot me a smug look. George, hurry up and come out when you're done. The gala's depending on you. After the door closed, I stared at myself in the mirror for a few seconds. Then, without a word, I ripped off the dangling sleeve, tightened the back of the jacket to make it look like a tailored vest, loosened the collar of my shirt, and used a black leather strap to wrap around my exposed arm, emphasizing the clean muscle lines. If I was going to look like a mess, I might as well own the mess completely. Chapter 5. When I reappeared at the dinner banquet, all eyes immediately turned toward me. Damn, Secretary Wang looks so good in that suit. Look at that body, perfection. Was that suit custom made like this on purpose? He looks like a private butler or something. Sophia had been chatting with some guests, but when she heard the murmurs, she turned her head to look. Her gaze darkened instantly. Makoto's smile froze on his face, and his fists clenched tightly at his sides. He strode over. George, why did you alter your suit like that? There was no way to wear it properly without making changes. I replied calmly. I'm Kim Corporation's secretary. I have to think about the company image. Makoto's expression turned ugly, but he couldn't lash out here. Instead, he wrapped an arm around Sophia's shoulder and said, Sophia, let's go offer toasts. Sophia frowned. You can't drink. Isn't George here? He can drink in my place. Sophia paused. So did I. Everyone in our social circle knew I was allergic to alcohol. With Sophia's protection, even though I was just a secretary, no one had ever dared force me to drink over the years. But now, with just a casual line from Makoto, Sophia only hesitated for a second, then agreed. She glanced at me and said flatly, keep up. After that, Makoto deliberately took Sophia from table to table, offering toasts. At each stop, he'd turn and smile at me, saying, George, this one's for you. Glass after glass. I drank them all. My throat burned so badly I could barely taste the liquor anymore, just the constant rush of blood rising up. My stomach churned violently. I couldn't hold it in any longer and rushed to the restroom, throwing up until the world spun. By the end, a mouthful of bloody foam came up. Leaning over the sink, I stared at my ghostly reflection in the mirror, still gasping for breath when Makoto's call came through again. George, what's taking so long? Sophia's uncles are waiting for their toast. I popped a few allergy pills, forced myself upright, and returned to the banquet. By the end of the banquet, I could barely stand. Makoto leaned exaggeratedly against Sophia's shoulder. Sophia, I'm tired. She gently ran her fingers through his hair, her voice indulgent. Go wait in the car. I'll come after I say goodbye to the guests. I stood silently, bracing myself against the wall, watching them act all lovey-dovey in public like no one else was there. My stomach twisted with another wave of pain. Makoto slung an arm around my shoulders, all smiles. Come on, George, let's go. I had no choice but to let him hold onto me as we walked into the elevator together. But the moment the doors closed and no one else was around, his expression changed completely. Slap. He struck me hard across the face with the back of his hand, eyes filled with venom. You piece of trash. You did this on purpose, didn't you? Wore that damn suit just to steal the spotlight. I raised my hand and, without hesitation, slapped him back. Weren't you the one who asked to switch in the first place? Makoto covered his face, stunned. You dare hit me? Do you even know your place? You're nothing but a dog Sophia keeps around. This is my off-duty time, I replied coldly. Even if you're her boyfriend, you have no right to insult me like that. Makoto trembled with rage, about to shout something else, when the elevator suddenly shuddered with a loud bang, and the lights went out. Ah! Makoto screamed, panicking as he grabbed my arm. What's going on? I forced myself to stay calm, despite my claustrophobia, and quickly pressed the emergency button. But the intercom only crackled with static. No one responded. Makoto immediately pulled out his phone and called Sophia. His voice changed completely, now full of fear. Sophia, the elevator's broken. Help me, please. I leaned into the corner, my breathing growing rapid. The sealed space and thinning air made everything start to blur and go dark. I had no idea how long had passed before I finally heard footsteps and Sophia's voice from outside. Makoto, Gio, can you hear me? Makoto instantly burst into tears. Sophia, help me. A repairman's voice came through the elevator doors. Chairwoman Kim, the elevator cables are damaged. It could drop at any moment. We can only save one person right now. Who do you choose? I heard Sophia answer without the slightest hesitation. Save Makoto first. Chapter 6. In that moment, I wasn't even surprised. Soon, the elevator doors were forced open just a crack. Sophia's hand reached in, and Makoto immediately lunged toward her. Grabbing on, she pulled him out in one swift motion. George is still in there, Makoto shouted, pretending to care. Sophia paused. Let's get you out first, then we'll save him. Their footsteps faded away, and in the pitch-black elevator, I was left all alone. Suddenly, the elevator jolted violently and began a rapid free fall. I was slammed to the ground. My forehead smashed against a metal handrail, and warm blood instantly gushed out. Just before I lost consciousness, I heard a loud crash. The elevator had hit the bottom. When I woke up again, a blinding white light made me instinctively shut my eyes. Mr. Wang, you're finally awake. The nurse let out a sigh of relief. You lost a massive amount of blood. We almost couldn't save you. Your girlfriend went crazy. Had the hospital on full emergency, called in doctors, rushed blood supplies, almost tore the whole place apart. My throat was dry, and my voice hoarse. She's not my girlfriend. We're nothing to each other. Just then, The door to the hospital room was flung open. Sophia stood in the doorway, her expression dark. What do you mean, nothing to each other? The nurse tactfully finished changing my bag and slipped out of the room. Sophia walked up to my bedside, staring at my pale face. Gio, are you mad at me? I looked at her calmly. Why would I be mad? You're mad I made you switch clothes with Makoto. Mad I made you take the drinks for him. She paused. And mad I didn't choose to save you first in the elevator. But Gio, Makoto is my boyfriend. Of course I should prioritize him. I smiled faintly. Yeah, he's your boyfriend. Naturally, he should come first. So with that in mind, what reason would I have to be angry? Sophia was stunned. She had come to comfort me, but hearing my indifferent answer only made her expression sink further. You really think that way? I do. Sophia felt a nameless fire well up in her chest, but I didn't give her a chance to speak more. You should go take care of Makoto. He must be scared out of his mind. She stared at me for a few seconds, then finally turned and left, her face cold. But after leaving the room, Sophia didn't head straight to Makoto. Instead, she stood at the far end of the corridor and made a call to her childhood friend. Let me ask you something, she said, leaning against the wall, her face clouded. If someone who really liked you suddenly stops getting jealous when you treat another guy well, what does that mean? A soft laugh came from the other end of the line. What else could it mean? They like you too much. Sophia frowned. What do you mean? Immature love gets jealous, her friend teased. But the deeper kind, that one waits silently. That guy, he probably loves you to his core. Don't you get it? Sophia's strange frustration vanished in an instant. The corners of her lips lifted involuntarily into a smile. That sports car you liked in the garage, it's yours now. Holy shit, her childhood friend exclaimed. A few words just earned me a couple $100 million. Keep the favors coming. Sophia hung up, feeling much better. So Gio still loved her, helplessly, completely. She turned and headed for Makoto's hospital room. During my own hospital stay, I kept seeing Makoto's updates on social media. She said my injury scared her half to death, so she insisted on taking me to the Maldives to unwind. The accompanying photo was of Sophia feeding him fruit on a private jet. Expressionless, I swiped past. Honestly, maybe this was for the best. As long as he kept clinging to Sophia, he wouldn't have time to mess with me. On the day I was discharged, Sophia wasn't at the office. Her social media showed she was skiing with Makoto in Switzerland. I counted the days, just 3 more, and I could officially submit my resignation. Back home, I started packing. I hadn't accumulated much over the years. Everything fit neatly into a single suitcase. I was just about to contact the landlord to end my lease when my phone rang. It was Sophia. Gio, come to Swan Club right now, she said, her voice urgent. Something happened with Makoto. When I arrived, the scene was chaos. Makoto stood behind Sophia, face pale as a sheet. Parked out front was a wrecked sports car, its front crushed beyond recognition. A man lay on the pavement, blood pouring from his body. Gio, Makoto was driving drunk and hit someone. Sophia handed me a glass of wine. The police are on their way. He's easily rattled. You need to take the fall for him. Don't worry. At most you'll spend a couple of days in holding. I'll make the calls and handle everything. You just need to buy Makoto a little time with the police. Chapter 7. I looked up at her. What if I don't want to? Sophia's voice was low and firm. Gio, I'm not asking for your opinion. I'm your boss. I stared at her for a few seconds, then suddenly smiled. All right. I took the glass from her hand and downed it in one go. The strong alcohol burned my throat, and the allergic reaction kicked in almost instantly. When the police arrived, I drunkenly confessed to being the driver who hit someone. The 48 hours at the police station felt like a living nightmare. Maybe it was Makoto's arrangement, but I ended up in a mixed holding cell. New guy. A burly man with tattoos approached me, grinning. Pretty boy, aren't you? Suddenly, he yanked my hair and slammed my head against the wall. Heard you've got guts. Huh? Even dare defend Chairman Kim's men. I fought back with everything I had, but several people pinned me to the ground and started kicking and punching. You bastard. You think you can compete with young Master Ito? Pain surged through my entire body, but I clenched my teeth and refused to make a sound. The bruises were hidden under my clothes. No one on the outside would notice. On the morning of the 3rd day, Sophia finally arrived. Gio. She frowned, looking at my pale face. Why do you look so bad? I almost told her what had happened in the past 48 hours, but then I thought, I'm leaving today. What's the point? Didn't sleep well in there. Gio, I'm sorry you had to go through that. She reached out to touch my face, but I instinctively dodged. Her hand froze in midair, her tone softening a little. I could have gotten you out earlier, but Makoto had a fever. Just because Makoto had a fever, she left me locked in that place for 2 days. Let me get beaten for 2 days, just because of that. I gave a bitter smile, said nothing, and brushed past her. Sophia quickly caught up and grabbed my hand, pulling me into the car. Want me to take you home to rest? To the office. Now, you should go home first. She frowned. There's something important. My voice was calm but left no room for argument. Sophia was reminded of how I used to be, burning with fever, yet still insisting on completing the merger deal she assigned me. When we reached the building, I unbuckled my seatbelt and was about to get out. Sophia suddenly spoke. Want me to go up with you? No need. I pushed open the car door. A gust of cold wind blew in, sweeping away the last bit of warmth left on me. Right then, Sophia's phone rang. I heard Makoto's voice on the other end. Sophia, my stomach hurts. Will you come stay with me? Sophia's frown deepened as she looked up at me. Go ahead. I met her eyes. My voice still as gentle as always. I'll come back after I finish things up. She stared at me for a few seconds, then sighed. I really wronged you this time. She reached out again to touch my face, but I subtly leaned away. Just before the window rolled up, she said, after I calm Makoto down, I'll make it up to you. I stood where I was, watching the black Maybach disappear into the traffic. Then I walked into the office, completed my resignation paperwork, said goodbye to every colleague one by one. After that, I went home, grabbed my luggage, and headed to the airport. Before boarding, I deleted all of Sophia's contact information and threw the SIM card into the trash. As the plane soared into the sky, I slowly closed my eyes. I've stayed by your side for 12 years, Sophia. This time, I can finally say goodbye. Chapter 8. When Sophia arrived at Makoto's apartment, he was curled up on the sofa, his face as pale as paper. Sophia, he reached out weakly. It hurts so much. Without a word, Sophia helped him up and headed straight for the elevator. Makoto leaned against her, breathing in the faint freesia scent from her body, and couldn't help but smile slightly. Don't be afraid, we'll be at the hospital soon. Sophia frowned, her voice low and gentle. The black Maybach sped through the streets, running 3 red lights before screeching to a halt at the entrance of the most expensive private hospital in City A. The hospital director was already waiting with a team of specialists. Chairwoman Kim, rest assured, we've prepared the best room and doctors, the director said respectfully. Sophia gave a nod and followed Makoto straight to the VIP ward. Along the way, nurses turned to look at them, whispering among themselves, oh my god, that's the heiress of the richest family. She's so beautiful. She spoils her boyfriend so much, doesn't she? I wish I could switch lives with Mr. Ito. The test results came back quickly. Mild gastritis. Just gastritis. Sophia frowned. Are you sure there's nothing else? Please rest assured, Chairwoman Kim. The attending physician wiped the sweat off his forehead. Mr. Ito indeed only has mild gastritis. We've already prepared the best treatment plan. Get that newly developed special medication from Europe. Sophia cut him off. Money is not a problem, but that drug costs over $1 million per dose. For mild gastritis, wouldn't that be a bit? I said money is not a problem. Lying in the hospital bed, Makoto listened to Sophia sparing no expense for him, and his heart felt sweet like honey. He reached out and tugged at the hem of her coat. Sophia, you don't have to worry so much. Sophia turned and held his hand, her tone soft. Just rest. I'll stay here with you. For the next 3 days, Sophia stayed by his bedside without leaving once. She fed him medicine and food herself, even helping him turn over with great care. When Makoto said he wanted porridge from a place in the west side of the city, she immediately had someone buy it. When he said the room felt stuffy, she had fresh flowers brought in for decoration. When he casually mentioned he felt bored, she ordered a globally limited edition luxury sports car to be delivered to the hospital. The entire upper class of City A was buzzing about how much the heiress of the richest family spoiled her boyfriend. On the day of discharge, Sophia personally drove to pick up Makoto. Makoto sat in the passenger seat, hesitating. I feel so lonely living alone. Sophia focused on driving. We're boyfriend and girlfriend now. His ears turned red as he spoke quieter. Can I move in with you? Sophia's hand on the steering wheel paused slightly. She remembered that George had already cleared out all the things related to him in the villa. Besides, she really did want to see Makoto every day. Okay, she nodded. Makoto was overjoyed and moved into Sophia's villa that very day. As soon as he stepped in, he excitedly began rearranging the place. Sophia, can we change the sofa to white? How about blue curtains? I want to use this set of bed sheets for the bedroom. Standing to the side, Sophia answered gently every time he asked, sure. But when the entire villa had been transformed, Sophia stood in the center of the living room and suddenly felt a strange sense of unfamiliarity. This place had once been arranged entirely by George, from the furniture to the decorations. Every detail reflected her taste and habits. But now, Sophia, don't you like it? Makoto quickly noticed the shift in her mood. Sophia shook her head and threw herself into his arms. How could I not? If you like it, then I like it too. Chapter 9. In the days that followed, Makoto used his post-hospital blues as an excuse to ask Sophia not to go to work and to spend all her time with him. Sophia agreed without hesitation, taking him to various high-end venues. At a Sotheby's auction, Makoto took a liking to an antique vase. Sophia raised her paddle and bought it for $100 million. At a Michelin 3-star restaurant, he casually mentioned that he liked the chef's cooking. Sophia immediately hired the chef as their private cook, even while window shopping. When he glanced twice at a suit on display, Sophia contacted a designer to have a one-of-a-kind piece custom-made. The entire social elite circle was buzzing. Sophia was spoiling Makoto to the heavens. That night, Makoto knocked on Sophia's bedroom door wearing only a bathrobe. "Sophia," he stood at the doorway, his ears flushed. "Tonight, can I sleep with you?" Sophia was reading documents. She looked up at him, her gaze lingering for a moment before shifting away. "Makoto, go back to your room." Makoto's eyes instantly reddened. "Is it because you don't like me anymore?" Sophia immediately got up, walked over, and leaned into his embrace. She lifted her head and kissed his lips. The kiss was tender and lingering, not ending until Makoto's palms turned hot with tension. "How could I not like you?" She cupped his face, her voice low and intimate. "It's because I like you so much that I treasure you. I want to save our first time for our wedding night." "Okay." Only then did Makoto smile and nod. Then, "Good night, good night." After closing the door, Sophia returned to her bed but couldn't fall asleep. She stared at the ceiling and suddenly remembered her first time with George. She had been drunk then, mistaking George for Makoto, and had foolishly slept with him. The next morning, he didn't say a word. He quietly got dressed and prepared her breakfast like usual. Every time they were intimate afterward, it was George who gently guided her, teaching her how to please a man. His body had been warm and firm. He always held back, waiting patiently for her to adjust. Thinking about it, Sophia couldn't help having a physical reaction. She felt the changes in her body and finally realized it had been almost 2 weeks since she last saw him. Ever since she made George take the fall for Makoto, he hadn't contacted her. He was probably going crazy missing her, but didn't dare disturb her and Makoto. George had always known when to advance and when to retreat. Thinking of this, she decided to bring him a gift and visit him at the company tomorrow. After all, she had promised to make it up to him. The next day, Sophia stood before her jewelry rack, her slender fingers brushing past rows of necklaces. In the end, she chose the pair of sapphire pieces George had gifted her last year. As she adjusted them in the mirror, Makoto walked in and wrapped his arms around her waist from behind. "Sophia, are you going out today?" She glanced at the hands around her waist, her tone gentle. "I'm going to the office." Makoto blinked. "Why the sudden visit to the office?" Sophia didn't intend to hide it. "I asked Gio to take the blame last time. I should repay him." As she spoke, she took a velvet jewelry box from the drawer. Inside was the set of treasures she had just won at Sotheby's the night before, an emerald-cut diamond, a pair of sapphire cufflinks, and a diamond-studded watch. Makoto stared at the watch, his nails unconsciously digging into his palm, though he kept an innocent smile on his face. "Can I come with you? I owe George a thank you too." Sophia didn't think much of it and nodded. Half an hour later, the black Maybach pulled up in front of Kim Corporation's building, holding Makoto's hand. Sophia entered the elevator. Along the way, employees turned to look at them. "Chairwoman Kim and Mr. Ito really are a perfect match. I heard she's been spending money on him like crazy." Totally whipped, the elevator doors opened to the CEO's office area, a hub of activity. Sophia looked around, but didn't see any sign of me. Chapter 10. Which office is George's? Makoto asked curiously. His office used to be right next to Sophia's, but now it was empty. No one was there. Sophia was just about to go ask around when Makoto suddenly cried out, "Ouch!" and collapsed sideways. "Sophia," he gasped, grabbing her arm. "I think I twisted my ankle." Sophia immediately crouched down to check. "Does it hurt?" "A little," Makoto put on a brave face. "You should go find George first. Don't worry about me. Don't say something so silly." Sophia helped him up, then turned to the nearest secretary. "Give these jewelry pieces to Secretary Wang. Tell him they're from me." Secretary Lisa stood frozen, looking confused. "Say Secretary Wang. Is there a problem?" Sophia's tone cooled. "And no problem." Lisa quickly took the jewelry box and watched as Sophia helped Makoto away. The moment the elevator doors closed, the executive office area erupted into whispers. "Chairwoman Kim doesn't know that Secretary Wang already resigned. It's been quite a while now. Secretary Wang didn't even tell her he was leaving. Come to think of it, no one's heard from him lately." Originally, Sophia wanted to take Makoto to the hospital, but he said he was tired of being there and it was just a mild sprain. Resting at home would be enough. She didn't insist and brought him back to the villa. In the living room, she knelt on one knee, gently massaging ointment into his ankle. Makoto gazed down at her lowered eyes and soft features, unable to hold back his feelings. "Sophia, I really like you." Her hands paused. She looked up at him, then smiled faintly. "I really like you too." Makoto leaned in to kiss her, but she turned her head to avoid him. Don't mess around, I'm applying medicine, she said softly, though her tone left no room for argument. In the days that followed, Makoto kept finding ways to cling to her. He said he wanted to see the northern lights, so Sophia chartered a private jet and flew him to Norway. He said he was craving a rare limited edition dessert, and she had it airshipped immediately. Even when he woke up in the middle of the night from a nightmare, she would drop everything to comfort him back to sleep. For a full week, George didn't cross Sophia's mind, until one night at a business gala, Makoto suddenly doubled over in pain, clutching his stomach. Sophia, my stomach hurts. Sophia immediately held him close. What's wrong? Maybe, it's my gastritis again, he said weakly, leaning on her shoulder. Sophia froze for a moment, then suddenly remembered that George used to suffer from severe gastritis too. Whenever it flared up, he'd brew a special herbal soup that eased the pain significantly. She even recalled once when he was curled up on the sofa, and she'd fed it to him herself. Instinctively, she pulled out her phone and dialed George's number, intending to ask him to make some of that soup. Beep, beep. After a long wait, the call disconnected automatically. Frowning, Sophia dialed again. Still no answer. The third time, a cold automated voice came through the receiver. The number you have dialed is currently on another call. Staring at the screen, something suddenly clicked in her mind. Sophia's expression darkened instantly. George had blocked her. Chapter 11. Sophia stared at her phone screen, brows tightly furrowed. She couldn't understand, why did George block her? Was it because she made him take the fall last time? But hadn't she already apologized with those jewelry gifts? Or, maybe he didn't like them. A wave of unfamiliar panic surged from deep within. In her memory, George had accompanied her for 12 years, always rational, always knowing when to advance or retreat. He'd never thrown childish tantrums or acted petty like this. Chairwoman Kim, here's your water. A staff member at the banquet carefully handed her a steaming cup. Snapping back to reality, Sophia took the cup and handed it to Makoto. Drink something warm, it'll help. Makoto sipped slowly, still looking pale. Sophia, will you come home with me? Makoto, I have something important to deal with. Sophia refused him for the first time. Go rest at the hotel for now. Once the pain passes, the driver will take you home. Makoto was startled by the seriousness in her expression. Thinking something major had happened at the company, he didn't dare push further. Then, go ahead. I'll be fine. Sophia leaned down and kissed his forehead gently. I'll come home to you once I'm done. As soon as she left the banquet hall, she practically ran to the parking lot. She jumped into the car, floored the gas, and the black Maybach shot out like an arrow released from the bowstring. 20 minutes later, the car screeched to a stop in front of my apartment building. Sophia took the stairs two at a time and stopped at a door she knew well. She raised her hand and knocked. Geo. George? George? No one answered. The sound-activated hallway light flickered on from her voice, then quickly dimmed again. In the darkness, she stared at the closed door, a tightness squeezing her chest until it was hard to breathe. Why wasn't he picking up? Why did he block her? Why wouldn't he even open the door? Suddenly, a door nearby opened. A young man peeked out, frowning. It's the middle of the night, what's with all the noise? Sophia shot him a cold glare. The intensity of her eyes made the man falter and shrink back. I'm looking for the guy who lived in 1203, she said, her voice low, like she was forcing herself to stay composed. 1203, the man blinked. He moved out a while ago. Moved out? Sophia was struck like lightning. When? Maybe, 2 weeks ago, he recalled. I happened to be heading out and saw him dragging a suitcase. Sophia's pupils contracted slightly. 2 weeks ago. That was right after she made George take the fall for Makoto. She stood frozen, panic flooding her chest. He left. Why did he leave? And after moving out, why didn't he tell her? Didn't he used to tell her everything? Suddenly turning on her heel, she strode toward the elevator and raced back to the company at breakneck speed. She ran 3 red lights and nearly crashed into a guardrail, but she couldn't care less. When she burst into the executive office, everyone froze at the look on her face. It was as dark as a storm. Sophia marched straight to my desk. It was completely empty, except for the sets of jewelry she had sent, still untouched. Where is Secretary Wang? Her voice was icy. Why hasn't he opened the gifts I sent? Why was he missing from his desk once, twice, every time? Everyone looked at each other nervously. Sophia felt like she was about to explode. Answer me. The secretaries were so startled. It took a long moment before one finally stammered. Geo, George resigned. Didn't you approve his resignation? Sophia froze. She approved it. When did she approve it? She grabbed the secretary's tablet and opened the company's internal approval system. Her fingers nearly shattered the screen with how hard she tapped. And there it was. Clear as day. The system record showed. 1 month ago, I submitted my resignation. Approved by General Manager Sophia. Status, approved. Chapter 12. Sophia stared at the document, her mind blank. That day was Makoto's welcome back party. Her thoughts had been completely occupied by Makoto. Without even glancing at the request, she had casually tapped accept, but now she realized the person who had resigned was George. How could it be him? It could have been anyone. How could it be him? How could he leave? The tablet slipped from her hand, hitting the ground with a sharp crack. Sophia stood frozen, suddenly finding it hard to breathe. For 12 years, George had been part of her life like the air, always there, so familiar that she had never even considered the possibility he might leave. Why did he resign? The secretary was startled and answered in a low voice. George didn't say, but when he came in to handle the paperwork, he seemed pretty calm. Sophia clenched her fists, her knuckles turning white. Calm. Fuck that calm. She completely lost control, suddenly turning around and kicking over the chair next to her. The metal chair slammed against the floor with a screech. The secretaries all took 2 steps back in fright, nearly screaming. Sophia stood there, her chest heaving, her eyes filled with a panic and fury even she didn't fully realize. Find out where George is, right now, where he is, where he's staying, how to contact him. I want everything in 30 minutes. The group of secretaries stood trembling. None of them had ever seen the usually playful heiress lose her temper like this. Why yes, right away, they replied quickly and scattered to search for answers. Half an hour later, the secretaries returned one by one with chaotic information. Chairwoman Kim, Mr. Wang was seen in the Maldives last week. No, according to what I found, he was in Paris 2 days ago. The airline's records say he flew to Switzerland yesterday. As for contact info, he changes it every time he moves, so we can't confirm a final number. Sophia stared at the tangled traces on her computer screen, her temples throbbing. He'd been traveling all this time, changing his number every time he left a place. He was clearly avoiding something. Switzerland, she murmured, eyes locked on the most recent entry. Her fingers tapped the desk in agitation. Get the plane ready. I'm flying to Switzerland immediately. But Chairwoman Kim, you have an important meeting tomorrow. Cancel it. Sophia stood up sharply. Cancel everything. She grabbed her coat and strode out the door, already dialing as she walked. Prepare the private jet. I want to leave for Switzerland tonight. No, right now. Even after hanging up, Sophia couldn't calm down. She didn't understand. What had happened to George? Why had he left so suddenly? Was it because she made him take the blame? But hadn't she said she would make it up to him? With that thought, Sophia changed direction and headed to the mall. Within 3 hours, she had almost emptied Hermes, Chanel, and Cartier's latest collections. She even bought a private island on impulse, putting all the ownership papers in her name. Miss, the private jet is ready. The butler jogged up behind her to report. Sophia nodded and strode toward the car waiting outside the mall. Just then, a familiar voice called out from behind. Sophia. Sophia frowned. Makoto, what are you doing here? Chapter 13. Makoto stood in the cold wind, wearing only a thin white shirt, his face pale. I waited for you at home for so long, but you never came. I asked your secretary and found out you're going abroad. You're going to look for George? Makoto frowned. He resigned by his own choice. After so many years of work, it's normal to want a break. Why are you insisting on chasing after him? Sophia's voice turned cold. There's no reason. He has to stay by my side. Makoto was stunned. It was the first time Sophia had ever spoken to him in that tone. But, that's enough. You're not feeling well. Don't stand here in the wind. Sophia cut him off and turned to the driver. Take Mr. Ito home. I'm not going. Makoto suddenly grabbed her arm. If you insist on going, then I'm going with you. Sophia frowned tightly and was about to refuse. But Makoto had already climbed into the car. Time was tight. She was afraid that if she delayed, George would vanish again. Left with no choice, she followed him in. Drive. She gave the driver a curt order. On the private jet, Makoto stared in stunned silence at the mountain of luxury gift boxes piled in the cabin. These are all for George? Yeah. Sophia didn't even look up. Scrolling through my travel logs. I upset him. I have to make it up with gifts. Makoto clenched his fists, his nails digging into his palms. Once the plane took off, he covered his stomach and muttered, Sophia, my stomach still really hurts. Sophia didn't lift her head, eyes fixed on her tablet. Bear with it. Can we maybe ask the pilot to? No. She cut him off without hesitation. We find him first, then we talk. Makoto's face turned pale. He finally fell silent. Throughout the flight, Sophia kept her eyes glued to my travel records, terrified they would vanish again. 12 hours later, the plane landed at Geneva Airport. But when Sophia and her team rushed to the hotel where I had been staying, the front desk gave her a response that made her explode in rage. Mr. Wang, he checked out yesterday. Sophia slammed her fist onto the marble counter, startling the receptionist into stepping back. She immediately called her secretary. Track him. He left again. Find out where he is now. 10 minutes later, the secretary reported nervously. Chairwoman Kim. Mr. Wong flew to Iceland this morning. Sophia turned and marched out again, got back on the private jet, and ordered, "We're flying to Iceland now." Makoto jogged after her. "Sophia, we just landed, maybe we should rest a bit first. If you're tired, go back on your own." Sophia didn't even glance at him. "I have to find him." Makoto bit his lip, his eyes turning red, but all he could do was drag his exhausted body and follow in her footsteps again. He didn't understand. Just yesterday, this woman had catered to his every need. Why did she become a completely different person the moment she heard George had left? Another dozen hours of long flight. By the time they landed in Iceland, Makoto's face was ghostly pale and his legs were trembling, but Sophia didn't even spare him a glance. As soon as she got off the plane, she rushed to the hotel George had booked. "Mr. Wong, he checked out this morning," the receptionist replied politely. "I heard he's heading to Norway to see the northern lights." Sophia's expression darkened instantly, terrifyingly so. Without another word, she turned on her heel and headed out. Continue to Norway. Chapter 14. Sophia. Makoto finally couldn't hold back and grabbed her arm. "We've been flying non-stop, can't we rest for a while?" "I told you, if you want to rest, stay behind." Sophia shook off his hand and strode toward the tarmac. "I don't have time to waste." Makoto stood there, tears welling in his eyes. He had never seen Sophia like this, obsessive, frantic, with only one man in her eyes, George. Norway, Denmark, the Netherlands. They chased George's shadow across half of Europe. Everywhere they went, they heard the same thing. Mr. Wong just checked out. A week later, when they found out he'd gone to the Maldives again, Sophia immediately prepared to depart once more. Makoto finally broke. "Enough." He grabbed Sophia's wrist. "Stop chasing him. He's clearly traveling the world. Can't you wait until he's finished before talking to him?" Sophia coldly pulled her hand away. "I can't wait that long." "Why?" Makoto's voice trembled. "Isn't he just your utility guy? Why do you have to see him now?" "He can travel the world, with me," Sophia said as if she hadn't heard his question. "Why did he leave me behind?" Makoto froze. In Sophia's words, he heard overwhelming possessiveness, an emotion he had never seen from her before. Even at their most intimate, Sophia had never shown this kind of almost obsessive attachment. Makoto snapped. "You want to travel the world with him, and me? What am I to you?" Sophia frowned and shook off his hand. "Don't start. Don't start." Makoto's voice suddenly rose. "Sophia, ask yourself, since the day you found out George left, have you even looked at me?" As time ticked by, Sophia checked her watch, visibly agitated. "Makoto, whatever you want to say it when we're back. If we keep delaying, he'll be gone again." "Back?" Makoto sneered. "You think you'll even come back? You look like you're ready to turn the entire planet upside down just to find him." Sophia was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, "Yes, I will find him." Makoto was struck like thunder, stumbling back a step. "Why? Isn't he just a secretary to you? Didn't you always say, he's just Gio, the guy who grew up with you?" "Enough." Sophia cut him off sharply. "I don't have time to explain." "Fine." Makoto took a deep breath. "Then this is your last chance. Come back with me now, and we'll pretend none of this ever happened. Or go find him. And from this moment on, we're done. Completely." Sophia froze. She stared at him for 3 seconds, then answered without hesitation. "Then we're done. What did you say?" Makoto's eyes widened in disbelief. "You gave me a choice, didn't you?" Sophia's tone was growing impatient. "I choose the second one. We're over. I told you, I don't have time. If I'm late again, he'll be gone." Chapter 15. As soon as she finished speaking, Sophia turned to leave, but Makoto grabbed her sleeve with all his strength. "Sophia, don't you see how ridiculous you're being?" Makoto's voice trembled. "You kept saying you liked me, but during all those years I was abroad, not once did you come find me. And now George has only been gone a few days, and you've completely lost your mind." Tears streamed down his face as he shouted. "What exactly do you feel for him? Have you even figured that out yourself?" Sophia froze. That question was like a knife, plunging straight into her chest. What did she feel for George? For 12 years, he had been like the air in her life, so constant, so ordinary, that she never even considered the idea that he might not always be there. "Chairwoman Kim, the plane is ready." The pilot's voice pulled her from her thoughts. Sophia snapped back to the present, yanked her sleeve from Makoto's hand, and said coldly, "I don't have time to explain. You said you wanted to break up. Fine. I'm going to find Gio. There's only one thing on my mind now. I want him to come back." Makoto's expression crumbled. He chased after her in desperation. "Sophia, stop right there." But she didn't stop. Her pace quickened, and soon she was practically running up the boarding ramp. The moment the cabin door shut, Makoto collapsed to the ground. Tears poured down his face like rain. He finally understood. To Sophia, George was never just Gio. Inside the plane, Sophia stared at George's latest travel data on her tablet. absent-mindedly rubbing her finger against the screen. Mr. Wang booked a week-long stay in the Maldives this time, the butler said cautiously. He probably won't leave that quickly. Sophia gave a quiet her eyes drifting to the churning clouds outside the window. The past week of chasing after him had left her utterly exhausted, but even more draining than the physical fatigue was that question Makoto had asked. What exactly did she feel for George? Memories surged like a tide. At 13, when a group of older kids cornered her in an alley, it was George who ran in wielding a brick to save her. At 14, after running away from home on her birthday, it was George who carried her on his back for 3 kilometers to bring her home. At 20, after her first heartbreak, she cried in George's arms like a child. He didn't say a word, only patted her back gently. Through all her tantrums and reckless whims over the years, George had always been there, a lighthouse that never crumbled. Suddenly, she remembered the last time she saw George. It had been raining. He stood outside the company building, watching her walk away to see Makoto. He had said just one thing, goodbye. Back then, her mind had been full of Makoto. She hadn't even looked back. Now, thinking back, that had been George's last words to her. Faster, Sophia suddenly said. The pilot hesitated. Chairwoman Kim, we're already at top speed. Sophia said nothing more. She simply stared dead ahead, as if sheer willpower could make the plane fly faster. Chapter 16. When I woke from my sleep, sunlight was already pouring through the sheer curtains, filling the entire room with a warm golden glow. I stretched lazily, feeling more relaxed than I had in years. Over the past month, I had traveled through 7 countries, witnessed the northern lights in Iceland, experienced the romance of Paris, and stood in awe at the vast savannas of Africa. It felt as though the heavy emotions I'd bottled up for 12 years had finally been washed clean by all these beautiful places. Just as I was about to get up and pull open the curtains, an arm suddenly reached out from under the blanket and yanked me back onto the bed. It's still early, a low, lazy female voice whispered by my ear. Go back to sleep. My entire body froze. I jerked my head around and came face to face with someone, a stunning woman, with elegant features, a sharp nose, and slightly upturned phoenix eyes that sparkled with mischief. She was breathtaking, easily on par with Sophia. I let out a cry and shoved her away. This is my room. Who are you? The woman, now fully awake, propped herself up slowly, her pale upper body exposed as she sat up with ease. Raising an eyebrow, she replied, your room. Maybe take another look. That's when I realized something was very wrong. Panicking, I jumped out of bed and dashed out of the bedroom. One glance around and I froze on the spot. This wasn't the seaside room I had booked. It was an insanely luxurious presidential suite. I must have gotten drunk last night and entered the wrong room. Starting to remember now. The woman leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, looking at me with a half smile. Trying to stay calm, I asked, then why didn't you wake me up? Wake you? She let out a soft laugh, then casually pulled open the collar of her robe. You walked in and hugged me like a pillow, clinging for dear life. I wanted to wake you, but you. She pointed at a few red marks on her chest. These are from you. I'm still not sure if you thought I was a body pillow, or if you were dreaming about rock climbing. My face turned bright red. After all these years, I'd been through my fair share of awkward moments, but nothing compared to this. I wanted to crawl into a hole and disappear. Then I noticed she was speaking fluent Mandarin. A wave of relief hit me. At least she was Chinese. That made things a bit easier. I'm really sorry, I said sincerely. I'll cover the cost of your room last night, and also pay for any medical checkups if needed. As I spoke, I pulled out a notepad and scribbled my number. My name's George Wang. She cut me off, reciting my full name without hesitation. I looked up, startled. You know me? She raised a brow. We've met. You forgot. I studied her face closely. There was something familiar about her, but I couldn't place it. Southern City, the Liu family banquet, she prompted. Last March, it hit me all at once. Willow, the heiress of the Liu family, the wealthiest clan in South City. She was a few years older than Sophia and around my age. Back then, I had attended the banquet as Sophia's secretary, spending the entire evening tending to that pampered queen. I never even had a chance to speak to Miss Liu. Chairwoman Liu, I asked uncertainly. Willow curved her lips into a smirk. Impressive that Secretary Wang still remembers me. I've resigned. I corrected instinctively. Well, perfect. Gives me a chance to poach you. Willow sat up and casually slipped on a robe. How about working for Liu Corp? Double the salary. A faint scent of freesia drifted from her body, and I instinctively took half a step back. Sorry, Chairwoman Liu. I'm not looking for a job right now. I'm currently on a world tour. I really apologize for last night. If you need any further compensation, feel free to contact me anytime. With that, I was ready to make a quick escape, but Willow suddenly blocked my path, her gaze burning into me. You know I already have everything. Then what is it you want? I'm short one thing, she said, locking eyes with me. A boyfriend. How about offering yourself as compensation? I froze. You're joking, right? Do I look like I'm joking? Willow's playful smile faded, her eyes growing so serious it made my heart skip a beat. There are so many heirs from powerful families out there, why choose me? I asked, baffled. She suddenly stepped closer, her lips curling into a slow, mischievous smile. Isn't it obvious? I like you. Chapter 17. I stared blankly at Willow. For once, there was a flicker of unease in her usually calm, unreadable eyes. Please don't joke like that, I repeated instinctively. Willow let out a soft laugh. Mr. Wong, I don't joke about feelings. But, we've only met twice. 3 times. Willow corrected gently. You forgot one. The first was at the Liu family banquet in South City last March. You were wearing a navy blue suit and spent the whole night looking after that little Princess Sophia. She got drunk, and you took the drinks for her. You ended up breaking out in a rash from an allergy. The second was at the Tokyo summit. You were giving a presentation on stage, wearing a custom black suit. The logic in your MA case study was sharp, precise, it left quite the impression. Afterward, when some delegates tried to get you to drink, you declined gracefully without causing offense. I was watching from the audience. I remember it clearly. And the third time is right now. I was stunned. I didn't expect Willow to remember everything so clearly, let alone describe it all in such vivid detail. Her tone was so sincere. I couldn't find a single reason to doubt her. There's been talk in our circle that you're in love with Sophia. Willow continued. So I never acted. But now that you've resigned, it means you've left her. Which means, it's time for me to make my move. Her words were so direct. I had no way to push back. Suddenly, something clicked in my mind. A CEO like Willow, swamped with responsibilities, wouldn't just happen to vacation in the Maldives, and certainly not for business. I stared into her eyes. You followed me here? Willow raised a brow. Followed sounds a bit harsh. Let's just say, once I heard you left Sophia, I flew out of the country to find you. She chuckled. I just didn't expect you to run so fast. I chased you through 7 countries before I finally caught up with you here. But last night was a complete accident. I was planning a much more elegant reintroduction. Never expected. Her gaze flicked toward the rumpled bed. You'd walk right into my room. My ears burned. I quickly tried to change the subject. Sorry. I'm not planning to date anyone right now. No rush. Willow replied smoothly, still smiling. You can say no to being with me, but you can't stop me from chasing you. Her words were so bold, so confident. I couldn't even think of a rebuttal. I was left speechless, and could only excuse myself and slip away. An hour later, I changed clothes and got ready to head to the hotel restaurant. The moment I opened the door, I found Willow leaning casually against the wall across the hall, spinning a pair of sunglasses in her hand. Well, what a coincidence, she smiled. Want to grab breakfast together? I was just about to refuse when Willow cut in. We're going to the same restaurant. You're not seriously going to tell me I can't come, are you? Left with no real excuse, I gave in silently. We walked side by side along the beach. The ocean breeze swept through my hair, and a tiny piece of fluff drifted onto my eyelashes. I reached up, but Willow stepped closer, lifting her hand. Don't move. Her fingers brushed gently against my lashes, so softly it took my breath away. That familiar scent of freesia lingered between us. Just as the moment began to feel unmistakably intimate, a furious voice roared behind us. What the hell are you two doing? Chapter 18. I spun around sharply, and saw Sophia standing not far away, her expression dark and terrifying. For a second, I thought I was hallucinating. What was Sophia doing here? Before I could react, she stormed over and yanked me behind her. Chairwoman Liu, she said through gritted teeth, please stay away from my men. Willow calmly adjusted her sleeve. Chairwoman Kim, unless I'm mistaken, he's already resigned. I didn't approve it. Sophia snapped. I shook off her hand and said coldly, you already signed off on it. I'm officially no longer your employee. That sentence hit Sophia like a bucket of ice water. She stared at me in disbelief. Geo. In the past, whenever she called me like that, I would soften no matter how angry I was. But this time, I simply looked at her and asked flatly, why are you here? To take you home, Sophia said, reaching out for me. I took a step back. I'm not going back. You have to go back. Her voice rose sharply. I'm going to say, I'm your boss again. I cut her off. You're not anymore. I told you, I resigned. With that, I turned and walked away. Willow gave Sophia a meaningful glance, then followed after me without a word. Sophia stood frozen, her fists clenching so tightly her knuckles cracked. She almost ran after me, but the look I gave her stopped her in her tracks. Instead, she went to the front desk and booked a room, deliberately choosing the one right next to mine. As soon as she entered, she threw off her coat in frustration. George's cold expression kept flashing through her mind, each time stabbing deeper than the last. It hurt so much she could barely breathe. She grabbed her phone and called her childhood friend. I need to ask you something. Sophia's voice was hoarse. My friend, she's a woman. Every time she sees a man close to another woman, she loses it. And just thinking about him leaving for good feels like being torn apart. What does that mean? Laughter came through the phone. Isn't it obvious? Your friend is in love with that guy. The words struck Sophia like lightning. Her phone almost slipped from her hand. Love? She was in love with George. Makoto's voice echoed in her mind. You say you don't like him, but the moment he left, you lost your mind like someone possessed. Sophia's heart was pounding faster and faster. That's right. All those years, she never once flew overseas to find Makoto, but the moment George left, she'd gone crazy, chasing him across the world. The moment the realization hit her, a wave of pure euphoria surged through Sophia. Finally, she liked George. The thought made her heartbeat quicken, her blood boil with excitement. If she liked him, and he liked her too, then all she had to do was tell him the truth, and he'd come back to her. They'd get married. They'd be together, forever. That night, Sophia stood outside my hotel room, took a deep breath, and raised her hand to knock. Gio, I need to talk to you. Silence from within. She knocked again. I know you're in there. Still no response. Sophia pulled out her phone and called me, only to hear an automated voice. The number you dialed is currently on another call. Annoyed, she hung up and immediately dialed the hotel front desk. I need a spare key for room 1203. I'm sorry, miss, but we can't. I'm Sophia, from the Kim Group. She cut in coldly, the largest shareholder of this hotel. 5 minutes later, Sophia had the keycard in hand. She opened the door. The room was empty. Only a suitcase sat quietly in the corner. From the bathroom, the sound of running water echoed. Sophia exhaled in relief and walked to the door. Gio, we need to talk. The water stopped abruptly. Get out, I said from behind the door, my voice calm, eerily calm. I have something important to tell you. Sophia stood her ground. I realized what I really feel for you. I don't care. I cut her off. Please leave. Sophia's chest tightened. You're not even willing to listen. Sophia. I said her name, no title, no filter. It's been 12 years. When have you ever cared about what I wanted to hear? The words hit her like a blade to the heart. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. It was true. For 12 years, George had always been the one yielding to her, taking care of her, fulfilling every demand. And her? What had she ever given him? I'm sorry. Her voice was hoarse. I was selfish. I didn't understand anything before. The bathroom door opened suddenly. I stepped out in a bathrobe, hair still dripping. No need to apologize, I said, looking her directly in the eye, because what we had was just a transaction. Sophia's brows furrowed. What transaction? Chapter 19. I walked over to the vanity and picked up the hairdryer. I helped you grow up. You helped my dad's company through its crisis. Now the deal is over. Sophia looked as if she'd been struck by lightning. She staggered back a step. What did you say? I said. I enunciated each word clearly. I got close to you for money. From the very beginning. The room fell into a terrifying silence. Sophia stared at me, desperately trying to detect any sign that I was lying. But I was too calm, so calm that it unsettled her. Impossible. Sophia shook her head. You clearly what? I turned off the hairdryer. Clearly obeyed your every whim. Clearly let you have whatever you wanted. I let out a faint laugh. That was because my dad's company needed financial support from the Kim Group. Sophia's chest heaved violently. Then all these years, what about your feelings for me? There were none. I looked straight into her eyes. Not even a little. That sentence was like a knife, slicing straight through Sophia's heart. She thought of all those years, when she was sick and I stayed up all night to take care of her. When she had her heart broken and I comforted her gently. Even the night she mistook me for Makoto while drunk, I didn't push her away. You're lying. Sophia suddenly grabbed my wrist. If you didn't love me, why did you do all that? I let her hold on to me. My eyes were calm, as if I were looking at a stranger. Because my mom needed money for medical treatment. My dad used that to threaten me. He made me stay by your side. Sophia's hands fell limply to her sides. So that's how it was. Everything she believed was affection had been a carefully crafted lie. I don't believe you. Her voice trembled. Look me in the eyes and say it again. I sighed. Sophia, did you ever ask my dad? Ask him what? When I was 15, my dad's company was on the brink of bankruptcy. To save it, he came to me and said, if I could win your heart, the Kim Group would invest. I recounted it calmly. You can go ask him yourself. It'll all make sense. Sophia's face turned ghostly pale. So? Her voice was hoarse. These 12 years, everything you did for me, raising me, even sleeping with me, was all just for money. I fell silent for a moment, then gave a small nod. Yes. That single word was the final straw that crushed the last bit of hope in Sophia. She staggered backward, knocking over the coffee table. The sound of shattering glass snapped her out of her daze. She looked at my calm face and suddenly laughed. Good, very good. George, you're ruthless. With that, she turned and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I stood where I was, listening to the fading sound of her footsteps, and finally let out a breath. Sophia stumbled back to her own room. She collapsed onto the bed, staring at the ceiling. George's calm, almost cold, expression replaying in her mind. I never loved you. It was just for the money. 12 years of companionship, all fake. Each sentence was like a blade, slicing her bit by bit. But what hurt more was that even after learning the truth, she still couldn't let go of George. When I stepped out of the room, Willow was leaning against the end of the hallway, waiting for me. Done talking, she walked over and naturally took the bag from my hand. I nodded, suddenly feeling exhausted. Willow gave me a glance but didn't ask much. I made a reservation at the restaurant. It's by the beach. We walked side by side toward the elevator, neither of us mentioning Sophia. Chapter 20. During dinner, Willow considerately ordered the dishes I liked and even requested a bottle of red wine. Try this. She poured me a glass. It's the restaurant's signature. I took a small sip. My brows relaxed. It's good. How is it compared to Kim's family wine? Willow suddenly asked. I put down my glass. What are you trying to ask? What did she say to you? Willow looked straight into my eyes. What made you look so upset? I was silent for a moment before telling the truth. She said she likes me, and then I told her the truth. I gave a bitter smile. That I approached her only for money. Willow swirled her wine glass. Did she believe you? I told her to ask my father. Your father? Willow seemed thoughtful. The Wong family's not doing well now. Without the Kim family's support. I shook my head. That has nothing to do with me. I've already cut ties with the Wongs. Willow raised her eyebrows. So final. 12 years. That's enough. I said softly. I've repaid everything I owed them. Suddenly, Willow reached out and covered the back of my hand. So, what are your plans now? Keep traveling, I guess. I looked out toward the sea. The world's a big place. Alone. I turned back and met Willow's intense gaze. Chairwoman Liu. Call me Willow. She interrupted. Don't be so distant. I gave a helpless smile. Willow, what exactly do you like about me? We barely know each other. What do I like about you? Willow chuckled softly. I like how you pretend to be strong even when you're clearly hurting. I like how you stayed clear-headed even after how Sophia treated you. I like. She paused. Do I really need a reason to like you? My heart skipped a beat. Just as I was about to speak, a commotion came from the entrance of the restaurant. I turned my head, and my face instantly changed. Sophia was standing there. Her face was stormy as she walked straight toward our table. Gio. Her voice was hoarse. We need to talk. Willow stood up. Chairwoman Kim. George is currently on a date with me. Get out of my way. Sophia swung her hand at Willow. Willow dodged and caught Sophia's wrist in return. Chairwoman Kim. Please mind the setting. Sophia shook her off, eyes red as she rushed forward and hugged me tightly. I checked. Your father admitted everything. But Gio, I don't care. She buried her face in the crook of my neck, her voice choking, trembling with desperate vulnerability. I don't care why you approached me in the beginning. I really liked you. So much. Gio. Please, come back to me. I stood frozen in place. It was the first time Sophia had ever shown weakness in front of me. The proud heiress, now clinging to me like a lost child, begging for my affection. I took a deep breath and gently pried her fingers off mine, one by one. Sorry, I'm not interested in you. Without looking back, I walked out of the restaurant. Only after I'd gone a long way did I finally let out a long breath. You okay? Willow asked. I shook my head. I want to go back to my room. I'll walk you. Back at the door to my room. I was just about to swipe my card when Willow suddenly pressed her hand over mine. George, she said softly, be my boyfriend. I looked up at her. You know I won't agree to that. Willow chuckled lightly. You will, because we're just going to pretend to be a couple. I froze. Willow took a step closer, backing me up against the door. Be with me. Fake a relationship. Sophia won't bother you anymore. I'm sure. Once we go public as a couple, her pride won't let her hold on for long. Her breath brushed against my skin. My heartbeat quickened. You're taking advantage of me. Yeah, Willow admitted without hesitation. So, will you say yes? I looked at her face, so close to mine, and suddenly smiled. Then I guess I'll have to use you, Chairwoman Liu. Willow's lips curled slightly. It would be my honor. 3 days later, when Sophia appeared in front of me again, what she saw was me and Willow, fingers tightly intertwined. Sophia. I greeted her calmly. This is Willow, my girlfriend. Chapter 21. Sophia's gaze landed on our interlocked hands, and her face turned deathly pale in an instant. Since when? A couple of days ago, Willow replied casually, wrapping her arm around mine. Aren't you going to congratulate us, Chairwoman Kim? Sophia stared at me intently, trying to catch even the slightest crack in my expression, but I simply looked back at her calmly, my eyes steady and unreadable. I don't believe it. Sophia suddenly laughed. Gio, you're really going this far, using a trick like this just to get me to give up? Think whatever you want. I tightened my arm around Willow's. We've got a date to get to. Excuse us. In the days that followed, Sophia seemed possessed, obsessively clinging to me. She sent flowers to my door every day. After I refused them, she started sending my favorite desserts instead. She looked up my schedule and deliberately staged accidental encounters. She even stood in front of Willow, eyes red with tears, and asked, Gio, what do I have to do for you to come back? But I remained unmoved. In front of others, Willow and I played the part of a deeply in love couple, always close, always intimate, so well it almost felt real. Until one day, I stepped outside and suddenly found myself surrounded by several bodyguards. Before I could react, a damp cloth was pressed over my mouth and nose. A pungent chemical smell flooded my senses. I struggled, but quickly lost consciousness. When I came to, I found myself tied to a chair inside an abandoned warehouse. You're awake, a familiar voice called out. I looked up to see Makoto standing in front of me, a twisted smile on his face. Makoto, my voice was hoarse. What are you doing? You know kidnapping is a crime, right? Have you lost your mind? Lost it. Of course I've lost it. Makoto shrieked. Sophia dumped me because of you. How could I not lose it? He yanked my hair back viciously. Do you have any idea how much I loved her? I fell for her the moment I saw her in high school. I waited for years, and just when she finally confessed to me, when things were perfect between us, the moment you came back, everything changed. I gritted my teeth through the pain. You can't force love. Shut up. Makoto slapped me across the face. This is all your fault. If it weren't for you. Suddenly, the warehouse doors slammed open. Sophia burst in. Makoto, let him go. Makoto turned to her, that same deranged smile spreading wider. Sophia, you came. Sophia's face went pale the moment she saw me tied up. What did you do to him? Nothing yet. Makoto pulled a knife from his pocket, just planning to make him disappear, for good. Sophia stepped forward. Makoto, don't do anything stupid. Stupid? Makoto laughed maniacally. My life is already ruined because of him. He raised the knife, aiming it straight at my chest. Once he's gone, you'll come back to me. No. Sophia lunged forward. There was a flash of silver. Blood sprayed through the air. My eyes widened in horror. Sophia had thrown herself in front of me. The knife was buried deep in her abdomen. Sophia, Makoto screamed, his hand falling away, as if he couldn't believe what he'd done. Sophia collapsed to her knees, blood quickly soaking through her white dress. Gio, she turned toward me, her voice weak. Are you okay? I struggled violently against the ropes. Sophia, hang in there. Makoto collapsed to the ground, muttering to himself, I didn't mean to. Sophia. I didn't mean to. The sound of sirens came from outside. Moments later, police officers rushed in and restrained Makoto. Paramedics followed close behind. They immediately began emergency treatment on Sophia before lifting her onto a stretcher and rushing her into the ambulance. I was freed shortly after and went with them to the hospital. Sitting on the bench outside the operating room, my hands trembled uncontrollably, and my clothes were still stained with Sophia's blood. Willow arrived in a hurry. Seeing me like that, she hugged me tightly, her voice full of concern. It's okay now, it's over. I leaned against her shoulder, and at last, the tears began to fall. 5 hours later, the light above the operating room finally went out. The doctor came out and said, she's out of danger, but she'll need time to recover. I let out a long breath. My knees nearly buckled. Willow caught me. Do you want to go see her? I hesitated, then shook my head. No, why not? She's already done more than enough for me, I said softly. Seeing her again will only make it harder for her to let go. Willow was silent for a moment, then nodded. All right, let's go. Go where? Anywhere, she said, holding my hand. As long as you're happy. Chapter 22. 3 months later, Paris. I sat in a cafe by the Seine, flipping through a travel guide in my hands. In the past 3 months, I'd traveled across half of Europe, finally settling down here in Paris for a while. Have you decided where to go next? Willow sat across from me, handing me a cup of hot cocoa. I took the cup, and when my fingers accidentally brushed hers, I immediately pulled back. Not yet. I have a suggestion. Willow smiled. Why don't we spend a few days at my estate in the south of France? It has the best vineyards and wine cellars. I was about to refuse when my phone suddenly started vibrating. It was an unfamiliar number. I hesitated for a moment before answering. Mr. Wang, said a voice I didn't recognize. I'm the Kim family's butler. The old master would like to see you about. Miss Kim, I frowned. I have nothing to do with the Kim family anymore. The young lady is sick, the butler said, his voice heavy. Very seriously, she's been calling your name constantly. My fingers tightened around the phone. Didn't she already recover after the surgery? It's not physical, it's depression. the butler sighed. Ever since she got hurt saving you, and then you disappeared without a word, she's locked herself in her room, refusing food or water. The doctor said, if this goes on. For the sake of the years you shared, I stayed silent for a long time before letting out a sigh. A city, the Kim family estate. I stood in front of the door, and it felt like a lifetime had passed. In the 3 months I'd been gone, everything here seemed unchanged, yet somehow completely different. The butler greeted me respectfully. Mr. Wong, the master is waiting in the study. Mr. Kim looked far older than I remembered. His temples were completely gray now. George, he sighed deeply. Sophia isn't doing well. I pressed my lips together. Uncle Kim, Sophia and I already. I know. He interrupted. But that girl truly loves you. She's had everything handed to her since she was a child. But with you, she fell for you without even realizing it. I lowered my eyes. There's no point in talking about this now. There is, Mr. Kim said, handing me a stack of documents. This is what she's done over the past 3 months. I opened the file and froze. The first page was a stock transfer agreement. Sophia had transferred all her shares in the Kim Corporation to me. The second page was a deed for a private island. The owner's name, mine. The third page, after she woke up, she spent 3 months looking for you. Mr. Kim's voice was hoarse. When she heard you were in Paris, she bought the next available ticket. But at the airport, she suddenly collapsed from a stomach hemorrhage. My fingers trembled slightly. The doctor said it was caused by long-term irregular eating and extreme mental stress. Mr. Kim sighed. She hasn't had a proper meal since you left. I closed the file and looked at him. Uncle Kim, what do you want me to do? Just go see her, Mr. Kim said wearily. Please, if only for the sake of a father begging for his child. I was silent for a long time before I finally nodded. Sophia's bedroom door was tightly shut. The curtains were drawn, and the room was filled with the heavy scent of alcohol. I pushed the door open gently and saw her curled up on the bed, clutching a jacket I had once left behind. She heard the noise but didn't look up. Get out. I stood there without moving. Sophia suddenly raised her head and froze the moment she saw me. Chapter 23. Geo. Her voice was hoarse, as if afraid to disturb a fragile dream. I walked to the bedside and looked at her gaunt cheeks and bloodshot eyes. My heart felt like it was being squeezed by an invisible hand. How did you let yourself end up like this? I asked softly. Sophia stared at me in a daze, then suddenly reached out and grabbed my wrist. It's really you. Her fingers were ice cold, gripping so tightly it felt like she might crush my bones. It's me. I tried to pull my hand back. I heard you were sick. I came to see you. But Sophia wouldn't let go. You came back. Does that mean you've forgiven me? I shook my head. I never blamed you. Then why did you leave? Sophia asked urgently. Was it because of Makoto? I've already broken up with him. It wasn't because of him. I sighed. Sophia, the problem between us was never someone else. Then what was it? Her voice trembled. Tell me, whatever it is, I'll change. I looked into her reddened eyes and suddenly couldn't bring myself to say anything cruel. Sophia, I said gently, what we had was a mistake from the very beginning. Then let's start over. She suddenly pulled me into her arms. Geo, give me one more chance, just one. Her embrace was warm and familiar. For a brief second, I wavered, but I quickly pushed her away. It's too late. Sophia froze. What do you mean? I've fallen for someone else. You already know that. My voice was calm. The room went deathly silent. Sophia stared at me, as if she couldn't comprehend my words. You're lying. Her voice quivered. You love me. I shook my head. I told you before, it was only for the money. Sophia looked shattered. She stumbled back a few steps, knocking over the bedside table. The bottle of liquor crashed to the floor, shattering into pieces. Sophia. I crouched down, picking up the shards one by one. We both need to move on. No. She suddenly dropped to her knees and wrapped her arms around me. Geo, don't go, please. Her tears fell against my neck, scalding hot. I froze in place. It was the first time I'd ever seen Sophia cry. The proud heiress who once thought she ruled the world, now wept like a child in my arms. I was wrong, she choked through her tears. I shouldn't have made you take the fall, shouldn't have let you take that drink, and I definitely shouldn't have saved him first in the elevator. Geo, please, just give me one more chance. I closed my eyes and pushed her away with all the strength I had. It's too late, Sophia. I stood up, gave her one final look, and said, take care. Then I turned and walked out, without looking back. Sophia remained on the floor, watching my back disappear through the door. Suddenly, she laughed. But as she laughed, the tears began to fall again. So it's true, your heart can hurt so much, it suffocates you. When I stepped out of the Kim estate, night had already fallen. I stood under the street lamp, watching my shadow stretch long and thin across the ground. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Willow. Did you take care of it? I replied, yeah. What now? I looked up at the starry sky and, for the first time, felt truly at peace. World tour. Willow replied quickly. Together. I smiled. You've been doing well lately, but you're not officially hired yet. That's fine, Willow responded. We've got the rest of our lives, there's no rush. I put away my phone and flagged down a taxi. Outside the window, the neon lights blurred into streams of color. I looked out at the city I had lived in for 27 years and softly said goodbye. This time, it was goodbye for real.